We gather as one church. Even though our gatherings look different today, we will never stop bringing hope. And it's through His church that the world will find light. We believe that who we choose to be today will determine the world of tomorrow. Our mission is to love God, love others, and change the world through Jesus. That has not and will not change. We are one church in many locations, gathering for one purpose: to know Jesus and to make Him known.
Hey everyone, welcome to Trinity Online and happy belated Canada Day.
Yes, happy Red and White Canada Day. And to all our friends and neighbors to the south, happy July 4th.
Today marks the 17th weekend that we've been online as a digital...
17, like 1-7.
Yeah, 1-7. I know, it just feels like yesterday that we started this, right?
Or like every day's a Thursday.
That's right.
Yes.
And we've grown a ton in our digital experience over the last 17 weeks.
Oh, for sure. We're so thankful that pre-COVID, we had an established, stable online experience. But when we realized we're going to be in this digital reality for the foreseeable future, our team had to adapt and innovate and change so many things up.
Yeah, they sure did. And today we have thousands of people attending every weekend from dozens of countries, broadcasting now in HD on live stream, Facebook, and the YouTube.
The tube of you. And yes, if you've been attending Trinity for years, or maybe this is your first time today, actually things are going to look a little different, but so good.
Yeah, today we're reaching into our previous pre-COVID weekend experiences and dusting off some of our favorite memories.
Really nice alliteration there, Dave.
Yeah.
And actually, from those moments, there was so many to choose from.
That's right. We've had such a great opportunity to have powerful moments in the last couple of years.
No kidding, Dave. And I love this because it's kind of like looking back and watching a movie from your teenage years. Like, do you have any favorites?
Yeah, one of my go-tos is Groundhog Day.
Oh.
Yeah, which is kind of like every day right now.
Oh, yeah, it is kind of like every day. It's so true. For me, it was Ferris Bueller's Day Off, a classic, maybe for you too. Every time I watch it, I laugh, I cry. I imagine myself on that float in the parade singing Twist and Shout.
I think I can see that.
Can you see? I'm trying. I see. Maybe you saw me in my mirror like 1,000 times in high school. That is the power of movies, though, isn't it? And how much more can these shared experience of what God's been doing in our faith community can move us closer to His grace and love?
That's right. But before we get into any of those creative elements, we thought a little refresher of how we started as a church might be a good place to start. Thankfully, a few years back, we created a walk down memory lane of Trinity's 57 years of history at the time.
That's great, Dave. And then right after that, you're going to see a special music element we called the Devotion Medley. It was created about 3 years ago, and amazingly, so right for this moment today. Especially in light of our current global issues, we thought the scripture, lyrics, and melodies of this element were needed in exactly the same way. Enjoy.
The year was 1961. Milk was 49 cents. Pampers were introduced as the first disposable diaper. We heard music in stereo for the first time on the radio. The Soviet Union sent a rocket into space. The Berlin Wall was completed. Okanagan Lake Bridge was 2 years old, and it would cost you 50 cents to cross it. The population of Kelowna was 13,504, and Grace Baptist Church, primarily comprised of German immigrant families, made a decision that changed the course of your history. It was there 57 years ago that an idea was ignited to invite their English-speaking friends into their community. A handful of young families stepped out in faith to welcome the outsiders. With the full support of Grace, this small collective of families began to meet in the church basement. They decided the best way to welcome people was to share a meal and sing songs that they would know. And that's exactly what they did. Their numbers grew quickly, and so did their need to create an identity, a new name. Suggestions were gathered, a shortlist created, and votes were cast. Rose of Sharon Baptist Church lost out to Trinity by 1 vote. Charter members still refer to this era as the years they were under grace. They soon outgrew the basement in 1962. Trinity Baptist Church found its first home on the corner of Sutherland and Birch, the site presently occupied by the Salvation Army Church. And the growth didn't stop. In just over 10 years, the church outgrew that site and moved to a cow pasture on the corner of Springfield and Spa. An A-frame auditorium was built, and it wouldn't be long before it was repurposed, disassembled, and relocated to become Lake Country Alliance Church. Due to the consistent rate of growth and the vision to provide environments that would engage the community, Trinity would go through a building program in every decade since then. You are here today because of the vision and sacrifice of these pioneering families. Thankfully, visionary thinking and a progressive attitude was passed on to the next generation, as Trinity became one of the first churches in Canada to embrace a multiple staff model and hire women to join the pastoral staff. Then in the 80s, a young Tim Schroeder used radio and TV ads to invite the city to be a part of the Trinity community. Ministries grew, small groups were formed, and a desire to support missionaries and missions to third world countries exploded. Today, Wayne Alguire has been leading this community of faith for the past 10 years as environments for people in every stage of life continue to grow. Adventureland, Next Gen, She Life, Man Up, Trinity Care, Alpha, The Journey, the Friendship Club, Adult Fellowship Group, and the list goes on. Creating engaging weekend experiences for people to encounter God, realizing every Sunday is somebody's first Sunday. But as great as our gatherings have been, the opportunity to engage with our city beyond our physical walls continues to drive us forward. A recent initiative we're really excited about is the development of a 23-acre farm that was donated to Trinity 2 years ago. Just a kilometer away on Benvolen, this property, Helen's Acres, last year produced 160,000 pounds of potatoes and 6,500 pounds of other produce. Almost all of it was donated to the Kelowna Food Bank, and we're just getting started. There is so much more to come, and we're not just saying that. To reach people no one else is reaching, we must continue to do things no one else is doing. Last fall, we opened The Refinery, a 25,000 square foot facility focused on engaging the next generation of our city and beyond. Establishing and cultivating strong relationships with all types of people is at our very core, because we know people are our greatest resource. Helping each individual discover their purpose, find hope, and most of all, to love God, love others, and change the world.
Here's my heart, Lord. Here's my heart, Lord. Here's my heart, Lord. Speak what is true.
I am found, I am yours, I am loved, I'm made pure, I have life, I can breathe, I am healed, I am free.
Here's my heart, Lord. Here's my heart, Lord. Here's my heart, Lord. Speak what is true.
I am found, I am yours, I am loved, I'm made pure, I have life, I can breathe, I am healed, I am free, 'cause you are strong, you are sure, you are life, you endure, you are good, always true, you are light, breaking through.
Here's my heart, Lord. Here's my heart, Lord. Here's my heart, Lord. Speak what is true. Here's my life, Lord. Here's my life, Lord. Here's my life, Lord. Speak what is true. Speak what is true.
For thou, O Lord, art high above all the earth. Thou art exalted far above, O God.
Join in and sing that with us.
For thou, O Lord, art high above all the earth. Thou art exalted far above all gods.
Let's all stand to our feet as we sing to our God.
I exalt thee. I exalt thee. I exalt thee. Oh Lord, I exalt
He is worthy. Let's sing. We exalt thee.
We exalt thee. We exalt thee. Love you, Father. We exalt thee. Oh Lord.
I'm sure you were singing along just like I was singing along in those last few moments. Isn't it incredible to step into a moment from history and yet experience God's presence right now, right here, in just the same way? I was reminded of his love and his care, and I was able to sing that back to him, saying, God, I exalt you too. I am reminded of who you are. Well, hey, this next story is one that many of us talked about for weeks and weeks after we watched it. It's about Bev and Clyde. Bev, a member of our faith community, Clyde, a member of our local community, and their intersection in a way that would only be classified as miraculous, incredible. It's of Bev responding to God in prayer, and Clyde on the end of that prayer being an answer to it. I invite you to lean into this story and enjoy it as much as we did.
Ever notice the amount of imagery there is in the Bible about growth? There once was a farmer who, I am the vine, you are the branches. The kingdom of God is like a man who plants his seed in the ground. Makes you think that God wants us to know that our spiritual process is similar to the organic growth of life itself. And more times than not, that growth happens with the help and support of others. Last fall, to foster greater understanding of prayer, about 40 people took in a course called Hearing God. Bev was one of those people. She was tired of doing all the talking in her prayer life and wanted to become a better listener. Over the next few weeks, as she practiced the discipline of hearing God, she kept getting an impression to do a prayer walk downtown around the gospel mission. Bev volunteers there on a regular basis, but organizing something like a prayer walk was way outside her comfort zone. As she continued the practice of listening to God, time and again she heard prayer walk on Leon, the street the gospel mission is on. She finally gave in, and the first Sunday in January, Bev organized a prayer walk around the gospel mission. 6 people showed up. As they walked, a clear theme to pray for those dealing drugs surfaced. They prayed that people would recognize that they were created for a greater purpose. The walk concluded with no fanfare or fireworks. Fast forward a few weeks, and it's Tuesday night and about 80 people are gathered in the hub for Alpha. Alpha's a 10-week course that starts with a dinner, then a movie designed to answer big questions about God, followed by a discussion around tables with a leader. This night, the movie had just ended, and Bev, also a table leader, notices 2 guys sitting by themselves. She finds out that the guys couldn't find a seat at the table because there were too many people that showed up. So she invites them to join her table group. With every passing week, the conversations around the table go deeper, and there's an understanding of who God is that's starting to take shape. Specifically for one of the 2 guys that Bev invited in. Let's call him Clyde, because that's his name. It wasn't long before the door was open, and Clyde understood not only who God is, but also the love and sacrifice of Jesus. Clyde gave up control and surrenders his life to God. Clyde tells the table, until the first week of January, he was dealing drugs on Leon outside the gospel mission. Then an unexplainable, overwhelming presence to make a change comes over him. He walks into the mission, has a conversation with one of the staff, says he wants to break free from his destructive behaviors. The staff connect him to Freedom's Door, a faith-based recovery program not far from downtown. A group of Freedom's Door guys attend Trinity services and bring Clyde along. Clyde comes to a service and hears about an Alpha course that might answer some of his questions about God. Clyde goes to Alpha and gets connected to a table leader named Bev. Last weekend at the 11 o'clock service, to show his commitment to follow after Jesus, Clyde was baptized. The celebration of life change Clyde experienced last weekend is rooted in the soil cultivated by Bev, the Gospel Mission, Freedom's Door, Weekends at Trinity, Alpha, and so many, many more. It's not our job to make things grow. That's up to God. It's our job to plant seeds. It really is amazing how God can use the ordinary moments of our life in extraordinary ways. I love that. Bev, thanks for listening and acting on the promptings of God. And Clyde, yours is a story of overcoming incredible challenges. And we know your struggle is still very real. So know that we're still praying for you, and we can't wait until we're all back together again. Last February, we did a series on the book of 1 Corinthians called Defying Gravity. Now, the purpose of this series was to show that following Jesus brings freedom to your life and pushes away from the natural pull that this world can give us and weigh us down. So whenever we can, we like to use art and nature and stories and props and humor, essentially every tool possible that helps the teachings of Jesus come alive. Now, this next element is a conversion between art, nature, and the mission of Jesus, and it was one of my favorite creative pieces in the past few years. But before we roll that, a personal disclaimer. As a writer and a creative communicator, after finding my muse for this element from Louis Giglio and my personal passion with NASA's Hubble program, multiple rehearsals, multiple services, all the stats that you're about to hear, in this specific service, my brain got a little discombobulated and defied its own gravity a few times. You'll see what I mean in a second. That said, this is astronomical grace. In our culture, there are some pieces of literature that are so profound, so enlightening, that they are taught and then handed down to every passing generation. Specifically, I'm talking about the inspired work of Jane Taylor's Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star. So if you would indulge me this morning, if we could, let's sing this incredible piece of art together. All right, here we go, with your best shower voice. Twinkle, twinkle, little star, how I wonder what you are. Up above the world so high, like a diamond in the sky. Twinkle, twinkle, little star, how I wonder what you are. So, yeah, all right. Not bad. That's pretty good. It's pretty good. It's pretty good. So why? Why has this little poem so captivated our hearts? As kids, we look up to the night sky and we are paralyzed by its awe and wonder. So much so that for thousands of years, we've been captivated by it. We've been studying it, trying to unlock its mysteries. Could it be that in creation, we see glimpses of the Creator? That would explain our desire to see more, to know more, to explore more. And to explore those heavens, we've used one of these, a telescope. And for the last 400 years, since it was invented, we have been captivated by our own solar system. Mars, Saturn, the sun, which is 100 times the diameter of the Earth, but still it's just an average star. It's 93 million miles away from us, and it would take every power plant in North America 7 million years to produce enough energy to run the sun for just 1 second. Psalm 19:6 says there is nothing hidden from its heat. Well, then we got a little smarter and we built bigger telescopes. And I can imagine God saying, really? Is that all you got? Build something bigger, because I got stuff up here that's gonna blow your mind. So in 1995, NASA launched the Hubble Space Telescope. It allows us to see further and deeper into space and into the night sky than ever before, and we were amazed. This is the latest galaxy that was discovered just a few weeks ago. It's called PLCK G308. Catchy, huh? It's a supercluster galaxy, and NASA is looking for submissions to name it. So if you're still looking for a unique Mother's Day gift, scientists are stumped. They can't believe that we're the only people in all of known creation. But what if the purpose of the universe wasn't for us to explore, but what if the purpose of the universe was to show off the majesty, the greatness, the splendor of its creator? So how big is it? Well, first we have to understand the size and scale of space. And in order to do that, we need to understand a light year. Okay, so stay with me. I'm gonna geek out here for just a second, all right? So first, let's talk about light. Light travels at 300,000 kilometers a second. That's faster than you coming down the Coca-Cola connector. Let's do this, because light will travel 7 times around the Earth in just 1 second. So, if a light year is the amount of distance light will travel, going 300,000 kilometers a second for an entire year, that makes the distance of a light year 9.46 trillion kilometers long. This is a snapshot of where we live. It is the Milky Way galaxy, and it is 100,000 light years across. So if you wanted to take a trip across town, you would need to travel 300,000 kilometers a second for 100,000 years, and then boom, you would be there. So where do we live? Well, we live right about there. We're not even in the center of our own subdivision. And on the clearest night, when we look up at the sky, the only thing we can see is that little box. And that's just our own galaxy. Scientists claim that there are hundreds of billions of subdivisions and galaxies in the known universe. So how big is it? Well, this next picture is what NASA calls the ultra deep field. It's their best attempt to show us the known universe. And just to be clear, those are not stars. Each one of those are its own galaxy with billions upon billions of stars in them. Now, the book of Isaiah tells us that all of this is measured by the span of God's hand. Now, I'm not trying to make you feel small. I'm trying to tell you that compared to God, we are small. Now that we understand the size and the scale of space, let's go on a little tour. 440 light years from Earth, still visible, we see this, the constellation of Pleiades. This is actually mentioned in the Old Testament, in the book of Job. Job is all consumed about the troubles and the issues of his life, and God says, just look up, be reminded, I'm bigger. Now let's go a little further out to the Helix Nebula. Oh yeah, also known as the Eye of God, and you can see why. 700 light years away, and if you ever doubted that God can see you, well. And then we can go a little further, 7,000 light years out to my personal favorite, the pillars of creation. Pillars of gas and dust that create these incubator-like environments for new stars to be formed. So cool. Now, let's take a massive leap out and go 31 million light years out to M51. This is a grand design whirlpool galaxy, and there's so much that I could say about this, and arguably it is the darling of astronomy for reasons that we can't get into today. But I want to take you deep into the center of this grand design galaxy. Again, it is 31 million light years from Earth, just up there, showing off all of its greatness and glory of Jesus the Creator. And those pink clusters, those are ferocious star incubators that are birthing stars right as we speak. And there is something that's so incredible when we zoom into the center of that grand design galaxy that when I saw it for the first time, it was so immense, so mind-blowing, so unbelievable that I just gasped, and here it is. NASA refers to this as the X structure in the black hole of M51. When I saw this for the first time, now I'm not even going to tell you that scientifically it looks like a cross. You can make up your own mind about that. But when I saw this, I was immediately reminded of Psalm 139. Where can I flee from your presence? If I go to the heavens, you are there. And if I say, surely the darkness will hide me, and the light become night around me, even the darkness is not dark to you. This is no nursery rhyme. The X structure reminds us that Jesus crossed a universe that in your darkest moment, when you think your problems, your circumstances, your sin is too big, that there's something that you've done that separates you from God. Just look up. Be reminded, He is big enough. And so today, as we reflect on Jesus, who traveled across the universe to show you that His love is so great, when you take a piece of bread and a cup of juice, know that what you are holding represents not a distant God far away, but a close God who came on this planet for you. He is close and personal. And that, friends, that is astronomical grace.
And stars telling us of who you are. You light the way and move our hearts from across the universe.
Psalm 19 says, "The heavens declare the glory of God. The skies proclaim the work of his hands. Day after day they pour forth speech. Night after night they reveal knowledge. They have no speech. They use no words. No sound is heard from them. Yet their voice goes out into all the earth, their words to the ends of the world." Oh, powerful words in that passage. And it's a reminder to us, much like this throwback weekend, that God continues to speak, to show his love through creation, through relationships, his word, a memory of his faithfulness, stories of life change, a song of worship. And spending time remembering these things does something peculiar. It propels us forward into the anticipation of, God, what could you do next? What God could do next in your life, in your circumstance, what he could do today. Would you pray with me? Hey God, there is nowhere on earth that your love does not reach. There's no circumstance, no individual that is outside of your presence and your love. And so God, today I pray that we would step into that we'd be reminded of it, that we'd understand how much you care for us, that you even know the amount of hairs on our head. You know our coming and our going. You know when we stand up and when we sit down. And God, you know our experience today. In the middle of the fear, in the middle of the problems, I pray that we would see you. And we'd look up maybe to the heavens or the trees and be reminded that they're crying out, that they send forth the message of God's love even when we can't hear it. So God, we receive that today and we receive your love and we pray this in Jesus' name. Amen. Hey, thanks for praying with me. And thanks for joining us in this weekend. We're so glad that you've chosen to do that. And we want to let you know that your generosity at Trinity directly impacts the mission we've been given as a faith community. God's plan A, which is to go and change your neighborhood, your city, and the world. And your faithful giving makes it possible for us to make a collective impact greater than what we could do individually, locally, nationally, and across the world. And giving is an important step in spiritual growth and maturity. Put simply, growing people are generous people. And if you're considering giving for the first time, or you regularly give through our online platforms, thank you for doing that. Hey, this summer, Trinity Church is hosting something awesome. It's called Love Where You Live. It's an opportunity for you, your friends, or your family to join in on weekly challenges that get you out and around Kelowna to love this beautiful city and the people who live here. So far, we have 312 people that have signed up, and we want 312 more. And it's 3 easy steps to do it. Step 1, sign up on the Trinity app. Just go to the main page and follow the links. Step 2, receive weekly emails that launch challenges for every age group. Right now, we have preschoolers all the way up to seniors who've signed up. And 3, complete the challenges. Okay, there's 4 steps. The 4th one is optional, but if you want to submit your pictures, you can win prizes. That's probably my best part, if I were to be honest. Now, sign up by July 5th and receive a summer experience kit dropped off right to your door. Register as an individual or a family, but we highly encourage you to pair up after you register with your bubble people or your friends or neighbors and experience the challenges together. The first challenge launches July 8th, so sign up today and love where you live. Hey, next weekend we launch into a brand new series called Reimagine Summer. It's going to be music and message and all sorts of goodness. And hey, why don't you invite a friend to watch with you? Share the link on Facebook or Instagram. Text them, call them. Hey, you can even write a letter. And when you invite someone to church online with you, you're inviting them to experience the life-changing power of Jesus. And that is worth the invite, in my opinion. So invite a friend and see what God does through your faith-filled decision, just like Bev did. Well, hey, now we're going to jump back into some of our favorite moments. This next one, there's nothing I could say to adequately set this up. This story is incredible. Let's leave it at this. If you're watching today and feeling overwhelmed by the headlines, your circumstances, maybe you're even wondering where God is in all of this, this story is a slam dunk to remind you and remind me that we are fully known and fully loved by God, and He is still in the miracle business.
So soon after we got married, we knew right away that adoption was meant for us. And we knew that it was something that we were going to pursue 100%. We just didn't realize how long that process was going to take. And he said, but something happened today. And he goes, I can't explain it. And I don't know why it happened. And I've asked how this has happened and nobody can explain it to me. But another referral that was not supposed to come in, came in today. Right on the heels of him learning about our other referral falling apart. We're so emotionally drained from the whole process and losing the other two. Are we emotionally able to open our hearts up again and take that chance and move forward again?
For the first time in the whole 9 years, I was like, I'm done.
I was so terrified of losing another referral that I just didn't know if we could do it. So at the end of the phone call, we said yes. And within a few days, we received documentation, which had surprised all of us. It was a little girl.
It was a similar process in that once you accept, you would get monthly updates with photographs and heights and weights and things like that. And again, I think in the third month, the photographs indicated to me that I'm like, I felt like we were going down the same road, just health-wise. You could tell from the photograph that something was going on.
We would wake up every morning and check email immediately because Ontario is a few hours ahead of us. And we knew she was still alive. And I remember you saying to me, we got a court date.
We decided to do was apply for Nala's Canadian passport abroad. So that meant a lot of going back and forth to the Canadian Embassy, the consulate, and the immigration office. You know, you liken that to your own experience, which is going to the passport office here in Kelowna. You take a number from the wicket, they call you up, and it was unlike that. It was, we had made arrangements with our translator to meet at the immigration office, which is a federal building, and we estimated between 4,000 to 5,000 people there that day, which was overwhelming, to say the least, and already feeling vulnerable about how am I going to communicate what kind of passport I need, what kind of stamp I need. You know, and then the translator was
Not there.
I had a cell phone from the guest house. I either picked up the wrong one or didn't load minutes onto it properly. And when I went to make the phone call to our translator, the phone didn't work. So it was just like this feeling of We are just alone.
Just thousands and thousands of people. And it was hot. If you can just envision this, it was hot. And Nala was strapped to me and she was crying because it was so hot. And I was hot. So I can only imagine the heat coming off of me onto her. So she was screaming, and people were everywhere, and people were running, and people were, some people were angry, and some people were frustrated, and people were butting in lines. And it was a time in both of our lives that we would say we felt so vulnerable in that moment of not having anyone there to support us, not having anyone there that spoke English. So we were having a hard time understanding where we were supposed to be, because people were being batoned and moving, and we weren't sure if we were supposed to move or if we were supposed to stay. And it was that a moment where we were panicking, trying to get this phone to work because we wanted to reach our adoption advocate who was supposed to be there for us, and the phone wasn't working. And it was that moment of panic where I could see in Mike, and it's not often, actually ever, I don't think I've ever seen Mike. I saw he was concerned. I saw that.
That's a great way to say it.
Right?
I was just a wee bit nervous.
Yes, exactly.
Concerned. Nice.
Michael in that moment tried to make the phone work, because we wanted to have our adoption advocate there to help guide us as to where we go and what we do. And because Nala was so fussy and we were so hot, I turned. And I turned truthfully for a second because I was trying to shade Nala from the sun. And I was trying to keep her happy and trying to process what was happening around us, all around us with the thousands of people. And all of a sudden, I felt a hand on my shoulder, and I thought it was Mike. And I turned. Sorry, it's really emotional. And there was a lady there. And I just remember her being so beautiful, and she had on the brightest pink shirt I had ever seen. And in perfect English, she said, "Are you okay?" And in my head, I was thinking, no, I'm not. And Michael said to her, "We don't know where to go, and we don't know what to do right now. We have a phone, and we're trying to get a hold of somebody. He's supposed to meet us here." And she was so calm. And I remember the chaos around us. And she said, "Give me the phone." And we said, "The phone doesn't work. It's not working." And she said, "Give me the phone." And so Michael's grabbing the phone, and I'm bouncing Nala. And she says, "Give me the telephone number." And Michael hands her the telephone number. And I said again, "It's not working. The phone doesn't work." And she dialed the number. And the next thing I knew, she was talking to somebody. And we weren't understanding what she was saying. And she hung up the phone, and she looked at us, and she said, "It's okay." She said, "He'll be here in 5 minutes." And I remembered feeling such relief in that moment. And in that brief second, I wanted to thank her, because it just meant so much to me that she had come to us. And I turned back within seconds, and she was gone.
The immigration building is set up on a big cement staircase, and I just kind of turned, and I can see him parking the van and waving.
Yeah,
and
you see he's waving, like, within,
almost happy that,
yeah.
Oh, you're almost to the front of the line, and just gets in with us.
Yeah. And I remembered looking and thinking, I was looking for the bright pink shirt because I wanted to thank her, and I just looked everywhere, and I thought I'll notice her because of the bright pink shirt, and it was literally seconds. You can't be far. And I never saw her again. I never saw her again. And that moment, I knew everything was going to be okay. I knew. And up walked our adoption advocate, smiling, so happy to see us. And yeah.
And after 4 hours in line, we had what we had come for. It
was an amazing moment. It was a life-changing moment for both of us. Everything leading up to our journey seems so scattered and broken, and it seems so difficult.
It feels like those roadblocks and that roller coaster ride of the 9-year process, God dropped those there so we could be prepared to be her parents, and now we are.
Every day for us forward has just been amazing. She's thriving. She's doing amazingly well, and we're just so blessed to have her. We are so blessed to be chosen to be her parents.
Mm-hmm. We had the experience a lot when we first got back to Canada. People would say to us on an almost every other day basis, "She is so lucky." Now I'll get upset. And early on, we would always flip that and mean it from the bottom of our hearts that we are the lucky ones.
Yeah.
I never get tired of hearing stories of how God shows up when all hope seems lost. It's in those moments when he reminds us he is still in control and loves us more than we would ever know. For some of you, you needed to be reminded of that truth today. Thanks, Steph and Mike, for sharing your story. Well, I have to say that going through the archives to put this weekend together has made me realize again how amazing you are, our church, in the countless ways that you've served us in the past. Greeters, craftsmen, small group leaders, table hosts, artists, musicians, technicians, teachers, cooks, cleaners, and yes, even farmers. You are Trinity Church. And though our current connection as a community looks a little different these days, I am convinced that God is building in us today a strong, bright, and beautiful church that will continue to shine even brighter into our community and beyond. We love to say all the time that church is not a building, it is a people, and it just wouldn't work without you. Our final throwback is a time where Scott had to be reminded of that truth.
Where is everyone?
Wait, I just arrived. I'm in the video booth all by myself. Where is everybody? Sarah, I am by myself in Trinity Kids. They are everywhere. You've got to send help. Sarah! Ah! I think someone forgot to take the offering. There's no volunteers.
just a Rutland girl living in a lonely world. She took the midnight bus to Springfield and Spall.
Just a Wilden bloke, immigrated down from Okotoks. He rises early just so he can get to the church on time.
Up before the sunlight ride, placing traffic cones for miles and miles. Every day they give it all they have, playing parking chess.
To those who serve our next gen kids, high school games to spit up bibs. Young adults, middle school, we think that you're the best. Serving, helping, sacrificing all you have. Volunteers are the engine of our church. Grateful, we're thankful. We would fall apart without you. You are the greatest on earth. To those who greet everyone at the door, shaking hands to build rapport. Thank you all. I pray that you're not a germaphobe.
Tech team dressed in black, Alpha table leaders third act. The way you serve so faithfully makes my head explode.
Serving, helping, sacrificing all you have. Volunteers are the engine of our church. Grateful, we're thankful. We would fall apart without you. You are the greatest on earth. Don't stop believing. Hold on to that feeling. She like people. Don't stop believing. Heaven take us with the wind. She like people. Don't stop believing. Higher ground's always feeding. She like people. AFG. Don't stop.
Hey, we told you it would be a great experience today, and we know that God spoke to your heart because he spoke to ours.
So, Scott, after watching this service, how do we apply it into our lives this week?
Yeah, Dave, maybe today, right where you're at, your response is to talk about it with your kids or family, or maybe it's even calling a friend, and you can share how you were impacted or reminded of God's love or his kindness.
So
maybe
good.
it was his creative power through one of the elements of today's service. And another option could be maybe your response is to take a next step in discovering Jesus. Let us know about it. Hit the prayer tab on the app, or share your story of what he's doing, or call a friend who invited you to join Trinity Online today.
So good. And make sure that you're here next weekend as well, because we want the experiences to continue in the future. And next weekend, we're starting a new series called Reimagine Summer.
Awesome. And don't forget to sign up for Love Where You Live.
And we'll see you here every day on the daily and next weekend right here, same time, same place.
Thanks for being here today. Have a great week.
See ya.